Rachel, it's good to see you. I've really enjoyed talking over the phone these last couple of weeks, and so glad that I got a chance to see you the other week when you came to visit. Can't wait until you get here. I just know that you're going to be a great addition to our family, and that people are going to be blessed. I've just appreciated you, and I want them to know a little bit about you. And so I thought we could take a few minutes just to talk back and forth. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, David. I'm really excited to be joining you guys and being a part of the Winter Park family. I already feel like I'm part of the family at this point. So good to talk with you, David. Can't wait to meet all of you very soon.
It's a great church. The Winter Park Methodist folks are just tremendous. They have a wonderful heart, and they're truly examples of service, and they're leaders. And so you're going to love it here, and you're going to love them, and they're going to love you. So it's all a good fit. I'm just pumped. I can't wait for that to happen. So tell us a little bit. Is there somebody in your life that's been important to you? Someone's been formative for your faith. Someone's kind of led you up to the point of your calling, not necessarily through the whole calling part, but someone that's really meant something to you in your walk with Christ.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm one of those lucky people that grew up in an incredible church and had a wonderful faith journey. There's a lot of people I could point to, honestly, that have helped me grow and discern and understand what God is calling me to become. A few people that stand out to me would be those in my family. I'm born and raised a United Methodist, so
Lifer.
I watched my aunt and my grandfather, who have both served United Methodist churches, all of their ministry in Florida. I've watched that process unfold for them. And I would say that my grandfather, who is no longer with us, but had a very influential had a big influence on my life and my faith journey, and really on all of his 11 grandchildren. Jim Smith and his wife Mary Smith are my dad's dad, and he served a bunch of churches in Florida. But I will tell you, after he went to college at Emory University, which is where I went to seminary, and then went to get his Master's of Divinity at Boston University, he was a man that asked questions and would really read scripture with an eye that always dug deeper, that always asked the deeper questions, and was not afraid to do that. He was an intellectual man. He really encouraged all of us to be readers and to dig deep and to ask those questions, especially as people of faith, right? We can't just take exactly what we've learned. We have to grow. We have to constantly be reading and learning and really being challenged in our faith. And I learned that a lot from my grandfather, and I'm thankful for both him and my aunt and the many United Methodists in my family.
You've got the roots. Yeah. What a great gift to have someone like your grandfather really demonstrate authenticity and really engagement of his whole being, his heart and his mind, and really live that out. Of course, I knew him. Was he and your grandmother were part of the church I served in St. Petersburg, and it was a real privilege to be able to interact with him and learn from him. I would go to lunch every so often with him and the other retired clergy, and just sit and soak it up from all their ministry experiences. And so, in fact, it was through the Church of St. Pete that I first met you. In fact, you came over and preached for us at St. Pete, and it was a wild Sunday. You had a unique experience. So tell us a little about that.
I did, and I'm so thankful that you invited me to preach that Sunday. It was in November on United Methodist Women's Sunday, and Don Warden, who was a friend of mine at seminary, and you invited me to be a part of this. I think I've grown to be a better preacher in the last 4 or 5 years, but in my second service, I was preaching, and this poor woman just collapsed.
Yeah.
She had not taken her diabetic medicine for the day, and she just bam hit the pew. It was this loud noise. I think it scared everyone. It scared me.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't something they teach you in seminary. When somebody passes out while you're preaching, here's what you do. So I thankfully happened to look at my mother, who was sitting on the front row, who's always been an incredible cheerleader. And she said, "Stop and pray." And that's exactly what I did. and the paramedics came in and took the woman out, and she was fine. But man, that was quite an experience. And I'm thankful that it was such a hospitable church that walked through that with me.
Yeah, not something that happens a lot, you know.
No,
Hopefully, not too many of those. And I
no,
just remember your poise. You demonstrated what a great presence in front of the congregation as the paramedics are working and all the rest, and was just the right move. You looked like it just happened to you all the time. You just took it in stride. So it was a
that's
great
right.
piece and kind of an auspicious beginning for our relationship
Yeah.
several years ago. So tell me a little bit about your family. I know things are completely calm, you know, 2 and 4, moving, husband, you know, I'm sure everything is just smooth sailing. So, you know, tell us a little bit about your family and what you like to do for fun.
Well, one thing you have to know is that I love my family. They are my top priority, and I feel like my ministry is first to them as a wife to Ryan of almost 10 years in August. Oh my gosh, it's going
Congratulations.
to be
Yeah,
10 years. And
yeah.
then our 2 children, Emmeline, who's 4.5, and Charlie, who's 2. So I'll brag on Emmeline first. She is such a sweetheart. She is full of joy and energy and creativity. She loves really all things princess and sort of the frou-frou-ness of
Mhm.
costumes.
Yeah.
She's really artsy too, and she doesn't get that from me, but she loves to draw and paint and do Play-Doh. And then Charlie is also such a joy, such a happy kid. I had just sisters growing up, so I was actually really nervous when I found out I was having a boy, but he has just been so sweet and such an easy kid to be around. But definitely all boy. So very physical,
Mm,
very much takes anything he possibly can and makes it into some sort of weapon. And he's very strong. He always has been. But the two of them, watching them together has been probably my favorite part of parenting, watching them love each other, watching them learn together.
right.
And Ryan is also a pastor, so he is an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church as well, and will be serving as the pastor, the main pastor, the lead pastor at Orange City United Methodist Church
Mhm.
starting in July. So you will not see him on Sundays, but I ask that you pray for him as starts on this journey. He's been in campus ministry mostly up until this point, and really looks forward to this community that he's going to love and serve with. But you'll see a lot of our kids as
Mm,
they will be
good.
at the church and at TCA during the day. But we do a lot of stuff outdoors. We love certainly being together, but we do a lot at playgrounds and splash pads and just out in nature. And you know, we live in a beautiful state, so there's lots to do
Right.
outside with 2 very active children. But that's just some of the fun stuff we like to do.
Hot as the surface as the sun 2 months of the year, but the rest of the year it's, you know,
Yes,
it's great to be
exactly.
outside. So you said you're not frou-frou. Do you have some special art talent that you do? Popsicle sticks, glue, you know, something that is totally your skill?
Well, I'll tell you, my dad is an architect, and he's very creative and is the artist in our family. I did not get any of those genes.
Okay, skip the generation.
It skipped, yes. My sister has those gifts, not me. But I will say, before children, I really liked scrapbooking, and
Ah,
we would travel a lot early in our marriage, and so I would scrapbook pictures of us traveling the world, and I enjoy that. That's a creative outlet for me. But there's not that much time anymore, so
no.
maybe I can do that fun stuff with my daughter.
Don't understand why you don't have time for that. That doesn't make any sense. Flavor. I know that you're widely read, and one of the pieces I've really learned to appreciate about you, Rachel, is that you really try to hear from a number of different voices, and justice is close to your heart, and that, of course, is really critical. It's such a heavy, hard time we're having right now, and so look forward to hearing some of that. But just, you know, out of the whole plethora of authors, you know, something you've read that really speaks to you and gives us a glimpse of what's going on in your faith walk right now.
Well, as you said, I do like to read. And I think for me as a pastor, I read for 3 different reasons. I read to grow in my own faith.
Mhm.
I read to help prepare for preaching and teaching in a very strong and authentic way. And I read to be challenged and to be convicted. I think it's not enough to just read what you already agree with, right?
Right.
And the people that you already understand. I've loved reading through my spiritual direction. I've loved reading Father Richard Rohr as I grow in my faith
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
He's been somebody, specifically lately, he's been talking a lot about climate change and how, as Christians, when we wound the earth, we're really wounding our relationship with God, and
Mhm.
points us back to the creation and the love of creation. And so I've really appreciated that. I read a lot, as you said, dealing with issues of justice, and somebody that I see a lot of my own story in is Rachel Held Evans, who
Mhm.
is no longer with us, but I've read a lot of her books, and she's been so prolific, and really has just taken the church beyond its walls, having grown up in a conservative family and conservative church. She really learned to ask the hard questions of her
Yeah.
faith, and I appreciate that. And then someone I've read a lot lately, living in Boca Raton, many of you probably know that we are predominantly Jewish community. And so one of the authors that I've come back to many, many times as I'm preparing sermons and times of teaching is Amy Jill Levine. She is
Mhm.
Jewish, but she's a New Testament professor at Vanderbilt Divinity School. And what I love about her writing is that she ties in the historical social context of the time of Jesus,
Mhm.
so that we can see that there's much more that the Judeo-Christian faith has in common than
Right.
what divides us. And so I appreciate that from an intellectual perspective.
So really finding the common ground rather than the distinctiveness.
Yes, I think that's so important. And the church must have a voice in the interfaith world. The church must be talking to people of other faiths. And we must know about what our brothers and sisters of other faith believe and practice if we're
Mm.
really going to be a light in this world.
Yeah, I think especially right now, and I was talking about this the other day, and one of the things I was on is, and really encountering this right now, when we're so virtual and removed, it plays right into affinity. Like as I'm picking where to spend time or where I worship or who I hang with, affinity becomes more high, emphasized than
Mhm.
the sense of community. I live in community with people that don't necessarily believe what I believe or see things the same way. It's part of how I get grow and how I get challenged and how I live out God's calling in my life. And we already have this tendency in this culture to try to just align with those that believe like we do.
Mhm.
And now that we're not even meeting in person, that's even more of a temptation. And so
Yes.
I resonate with your sense of trying to hear more than one voice.
Absolutely. And
Right.
one of the communities that I've loved being a part of here, and I hope to get involved with once I'm in Winter Park, is our interfaith community. It's the Boca Raton Interfaith Clergy Association, and I've been a part of a lot of their interfaith Thanksgiving services and protest marches and candlelight vigils when there's been yet another mass shooting. We've come together as one voice, as people that love the same God, that want the same for God's people, and I really appreciate having broader perspectives on that.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that there's a lot of these dialogues that come. People can get more and more knowledge. It's got to be really difficult moving into a church where we can't be there to greet you at the door. You're going to have to kind of walk in and get to know folks kind of slowly as we do in these times. And so, just am grateful for your willingness to share a few thoughts. I know and that you are going to bless us, and I look forward to walking together in this ministry thing.
Well, David, I've already felt so welcomed, not only by you and your team and your staff, but by the letters I've received, by the lay leaders, by the folks that have reached out over Facebook and social media. I know that this is going to be an incredible season of ministry for me, and I'm really excited to be there. 3 weeks can't come soon enough. I just need somebody to get all these boxes packed.
Right, right. All right. Well, give my love to Ryan and the kids,
Okay.
and we'll talk to you again soon.
Good to talk with you. God bless you. Can't wait to see you guys first Winter Park. See you soon.